Hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining my talk. Today I will be sharing few tips and tricks about debugging Django, why it is essential to use loggers, what is the difference between the various debugging techniques and what I'm going to teach today. A little bit about me, I'm a backend developer in a startup based out of India called Continual Engine. Apart from that, I'm an open source contributor and I mentor and build communities across India and abroad. So let's begin. So today's agenda, we will be talking about the debugging techniques that already are there and it's there for many years and we are using them, many of us. What is logging? Why we ask, what is the essential part where we see that print fails? So print is not a very scalable or I wouldn't say very efficient technique of debugging and how a logger overcomes those challenges for print. Diving deep into Logger, we will see what are the different entity, what are submodules inside Logger, and how we can then configure with Django. So I assume that you must have some basic understanding of Django MVT architecture, that's model view template architecture, how it works and how the file connects. That basic knowledge is sufficient for the session. If at all you don't have, don't worry, I'll walk you through it. At least the basic part, the files, how they connect. And then we have something called settings.py inside Django, where all these settings, like any other framework, resides. Then developing a visualization using logger data. So we will see that after we have achieved integrating logger with Django, there are a ton of data that gets generated, and actually we can develop interesting insights using that. And then we'll see the conclusion. What is the conclusion of that? So let's get our hands dirty. So debugging techniques. So from many years, when the development started, the history of development of software techniques, we started using output statements. Output statements are nothing but print. System.out.print, or which is in Java, and then in Python you can see just print. So whenever you write a code and you find, okay, this particular variable might contain some value, which I want to see, what is the value? So we say, just output it. Why not just output it and we'll see what the value is coming, is it accurate or not. Then using flags, say you set a flag, a Boolean flag or integer flag, you say it's true or false. Whenever the code enters this, it should become true or it should become false. So that's called using flag. Then we use a lot of comments. So in order to debug, we say, okay, this is where it should be, and this is the second step, this is the third step, and this fourth step, and so forth. Then brute force. Brute force is nothing but a collaboration of a lot of logger files, memory files, which in turn we use a lot many print statements combined with those files, and in order to find where the error or where the failure came into picture. So brute force is also used until today in many other organizations, and it's effective in some forms, but it fails in not many cases. And the final comes the using debugging tools. So we can use a couple of debugging tools, and today I will be walking you through one of them, but there are a lot many there. So yeah, so never fall into the situation of bugs. So we see that there's a small bugs, then they become big, big, and bigger. So we have to kind of find them in the small initial stages itself so that it doesn't become a catastrophic failure for our software. And it's simple. So you have to identify, analyze, and move forward. Now we're talking about logging versus logger. What are the differences between these? These are terminologies, I would say, which are frequently being used in the entire session. So I thought it's important to actually make you familiar with these two terms first. What is logging? So logging is basically tracking events once a software code runs. It is very essential for debugging your software. So let's take an example where you went for a world tour and you visited many countries and you had so much of fun over there. Now, what you would want to do is make sure that you make a collaborative album of it or a scratchbook out of it. So it's you track all your events, what you did, what happened in which museum or which various yacht, and what all you enjoyed in that, and how many people you met, and what are the connections you made over there. So after the your world truth is over, you try to summarize everything. So something logging is something like tracking all your software events. So how your software ran from one method to another and talked to the external async functions and then came back and interacted with your user database and came back. So this is the entire flow that it is going to be happening. Then maintaining a log file helps in fixing crashes faster. So in case you have visited a log maker and you forgot something, you forgot uh, a very important entity of yours in some part of the country, and then when you were finding everything and you're writing down everything, fun, okay, this is where I might have lost that. So it helps you fix crashes. It helps you remember what it is coming from. And then the third point where comes logger. What is logger? Now we understand logging. It's just accumulation, making all the events together at one place so that we have a record in there. And whenever we want to refer, we can go back and refer. You don't have to come back. Then we have a logger. Logger is a Python module that allows debugging and recording status messages. So what is status messages? We will be seeing in the next slides. And Logger is there from a lot many years, and Python has done a tremendous package called Logger, which we can use in Python debugging as well. And then Django has this inbuilt feature where Logger is integrated with this core, where we can use it for debugging techniques. Now, let's see the one big question that arises: why logger, and where it fails, where print fails. So print statements work for small scale code. So when you're writing scripts, when you're writing small code snippets or just their their Python print statements or any other print statements would work uh, efficiently and similar to how logger works. But when you see there are tons of files, there are tons of modules inside, and there are methods, there are countless methods that in your software that runs, and you cannot keep track of each and every print statement. It becomes very difficult. Then what you try to do is make sure there is an automation process in place where everything clubs together, and then you can see the files where actually which timestamp, which line of code, which file the error actually came from. So that is one of the valuable features that you can see with logger and not with print. And in with print, it's difficult to control the log information you want to capture. You don't want any of the data to be captured, every variable data to be captured. Maybe a specific variable, a specific part of the code where you might feel that's very critical, that actually is essential for the user interaction or server-side interaction or server-side rendering part. You want that is the very important part, and I would want that to be logged instead of everything that is there in that file. Then you cannot map the severity level within statements. So it will be just message error occurred, message code failed, message kind of this is the variable value. But with logger, you can actually map the severity level. How? We will discuss what are the various levels in loggers. And then timestamp. It's actually very essential to go with the timestamp, because you know at this point of time this failure occurs, and these many users were logged in at that point of time. So in case there is some data loss that happened, you can map and make sure that those users didn't had any data loss, or there can be a repair done just for those users, those set of users at that point of time who were logged in, and not go around the entire user database. So that's one of the advantages with timestamp, and there are ample of advantages where we can see timestamp plays when it comes with your logger. And meanwhile, when I go across the different levels of it, I might give you more examples out of it. Okay, let's go ahead. Now, this is one of the favorite part. So logger, I call it as a Python package or module which is already there for a long time. So how to actually construct a logger? So logger has four pillars, I would say. The first is logger itself. So it's an entry point into the logging system, and that is associated with the log level. The log level are, again, it can be info, debug, and we'll be talking more about that. And then we'll move on to handler. Handler defines the destination of log records. For example, you just want the log to be put into the console. That's it. You just want the log to be on your console. You don't want to create any other destination file or anything. Or you want to make a very descriptive log file. So handler helps you in defining the destination of your log file. So you can add a destination, or you can say, let's go for a simple console output and see what is happening. And then comes filter. The third is filter. Filter provides a finer grained facility for determining which log records to output. Now, I mentioned that you don't want every record to be going out there. So when I talk in the language of Django, there are many apps, there are many sub apps inside a particular project. So you want to say this, only I want this app record of this file to be going into the logger system. Then the filter comes into the picture. It is very advanced, and mostly, I mostly kind of opt out from it, but yeah, you can definitely use this feature as well. Then comes the formatter. What is formatter? So we will also see live examples of it. Specifies layers entities of record in the output. What it means, little technical, but yeah. So the language is technical, but it's not at all technical. Formatted, nothing but you say you want the line number, you want the file, which file, you want the timestamp and the error. These are the four things you want to log. So this is defined by a formatter. So you can just say, I want just the timestamp and the message. That is also fine. So you can have a variation out of it, what information you actually want to give out to the audience. So let's see all four together. Now, you have the entry point where you say it's a debug level information. Next, you say it should go to a file. Third, you want to say only file views of this app2 should go. There's two apps, app2 views.py should go into the logger. And third is formatter. I just want information about the timestamp and the error, nothing else. So you can even define, you can control what information is actually going to the log file. More about logging levels. Here comes the heroes. We see here there are 5 levels. First is debug, information about for debugging purposes. You might be many times we do a debug. Okay, this result should be of this kind of type. The type should be this. I want to log the type of it. So what type of data it is? It is a series data. It's a NumPy. It's an int64. It's a list. Whatever you want to do, whatever data is necessary. Then we call it as a debug kind of thing. Next comes info. It's a general message. It's an entering into the function 2, entering into the method 2, calling that method from here, going into async outside, connecting to Lambda functions. So kind that of information that comes into a general message. Warning, if there are any fault occurrence, warning actually automatically get triggers whenever there's a warning that has to be happening in Django. Error, if something fails in your code, it's automatically triggered. That's error. Critical is like system failure, where there is a critical information, say your file is totally crashed, your database is crashed, something like of that sort of. It's application specific. Say for here it's Django, but if you're running at some other application, that may be that pertaining to that application, not your entire environment. That's your entire computer system. It's just talking about those applications which you are running from. Next comes the example uses. It's pretty simple, and we will also seeing it using it real time. It comes with a debug. You just go for logger.debug, logger.info. The message will go inside the whatever you want to debug or info. Warning, critical. So if at all you want to insist on creating your own warning message, your own error message, you can feel free to do it as well. Moving ahead. Now, Building logger in Django, step-by-step process. We'll follow a very basic architecture of a logger, then we will include some formatter techniques and some handlers to make it a little advanced. But first we'll go for a very simple basic logger file. So here you see basic configuration. These all configurations will be going your settings.py file. Logging is a dictionary object, so it will have various keys and values, as you can see here. First, every logging, there are something called mandatory and something which are optional. So these what you are seeing are mandatory ones. So you cannot opt out from them. You have to kind of initialize them for your very first attempt to actually create a logger file. So how it goes is like that. So logger, and you have the basic representation representing the schema version. So it's important to define that this is your first version of your schema and you make it a version 1. By default, it's 1, but you can change as per your convenience. Disable existing loggers. If at all there is a Django logger already enabled for you, you can disable it. I put it as true because I wanted to see. Handler. So here what I'm doing, my handler, the value I'm passing is console, and the class. Class is mandatory here. So it's calling a stream handler because in stream it will be going into the console. But in the next example, we'll see the class. There are many other classes that you can use, file handlers and other classes, which we will see in our next example. Then root. Configures root parent logger to log all the messages in console level with level debug or higher. So here, what I'm doing in a Django application, I'm putting all the messages of all the apps and everything, Django internal architecture, whatever log is coming, and putting every one of them onto console with a level debug or higher. Do you understand? So here what I'm doing, a simple thing where I'm constructing a logger dictionary object, giving a version, giving it a simple handle to just put it into the console, whatever data is coming, setting into the root level because we want to see which file, which entity. Else we can use filters where we see we can use a propagate called true entity where it goes and propagates to different other apps as well. So handler, you see it's console level. We mentioned that handles is the destination where you want the log data to be settling in. So here I'm doing it's just as console, and then level is debug. It's an advanced version of it. So you want an advanced version of it, what we are adding here. So we added a formatter, which is standard. And the format is async time, level name, line number, and message. What is your format level? Then you see your date time formats here, which is, do you want it like month, year, day, or day, month, year, hours, minutes, seconds? You can choose as per your requirement. Then you have your debug, and then here you can see it's a rotating file handler because I'm putting it into the debug.log file. Formatter, I'm assigning the formatter which I defined here as standard, the formatter call. Logger. So now I'm defining Django, the handler, the level. Propagate true means this entity now is not static at the root level, but it can go over other apps also. So my app is here, it's called Planet. So I took it as Planet. So that's the app name. And then there's a handler where I'm defining it as a file that I just did here. And level that is called info. So only info and above would be getting out here. So I can show you a simple example. So my servers are running. Just trying to hide my controls, and here it's done. So I'm just outputting the files here. So yeah, now what I will do is go ahead and refresh it. You can see there is an info getting logged here that says the file has changed and we are reloading it. And oh, oops, just wondering why it wasn't coming. So basic logger, I'll just comment it out. Now I think we're getting the exact results that we are expecting. What happened here? Now it's running, it's up and running. Yeah, it's up and running. And here you can see I am infoing this. There are a lot of debugging packages saying if your package is not up to date or there's an error that has happened, so you'll get all those messages here. How I am actually doing this is go to my views.py. I have imported my logging here, and I'll just say that logger.info the planet list, whatever list I'm doing it here. So that's how it's working. So you define whatever logging you want. You go to your settings.py. You have defined that you need all this information, and your file name is something like this, and that's it. You're good to go. Great. So now we are kind of knowing how to construct advanced logging configuration for Django. And if you have these basic understanding, I think you can even go deeper into it and you can format in a lot better manner. And you can use various formatters techniques. There's one that I'm using the class here, but you can use definitely many others as well. So output of a log, as I showed that it is something like this where I log the information. So instead of logger with default value, yeah. So this name is a default value, but you can always change as per your app level, app name or something like that. Now you have you're creating a log. As I mentioned, I make this video on 18 April. So that's how the login information would actually look like. And if you go and see, so this is how the login information actually looks like. Similar to what we defined, you should have the timestamp, the information level, the name of the app, the file name, the line number, and the information. So this is how we define it. So you can see level name, app, line number, information, the same way we are getting the information here. Kudos. So now we have a log settled in our settings.py file, and we can do a lot many different configurations with it. And I just can't imagine how much we can do with it, but yeah. So logger file preview, as I showed you with live example. So here also you can have different, so I tried creating some warnings in the file. So I'll try again, replicate that warning. So I just say planet. It just gave me an error. And then I can go here and say, okay, this is a warning here. So the file path name wasn't correct. So again, I make it correct. So yeah, now your file path name is correct. That's how a warning I could get into. That's kind of warnings where sometimes your URL names are not correct. So if at all you're using a REST framework through a Postman call, you will get a similar error in case you're not calling the right path name. Now, the last part of it is developing insights from a log file. So I have created my own logger file and tried run some visualizations into it. So I'll show how you can do what steps you can actually perform. So whenever there is data, I cannot stop myself to actually do something with it. I want to make sure that there is some insight that I'm getting from that data and it should not be wasted. And logger files are beautiful files where you can get so much of variety of data. And not only you can check your system uptime, runtime, that actually a different software does for you, you can actually do it for yourself. So whenever there is a log file generated, you can actually raise a ticket a critical log file chain. You can raise a ticket, connect with other external softwares, external ticketing partners or external softwares, and then raise a ticket, say, hey, this is a problem that occurred, and assign it to someone in case there are specific developers for that critical error to be mapped with. So yeah, so now we'll see developing insights from log file. So going ahead. Okay, now your data has to go and be stored something. So I am outputting it into a txt file, but feel free to use any of the file format that you are comfortable using with. Then I'm converting to a CSV using a simple reader import and converting to a CSV. Choose the data points, whether you want to choose timestamp, line number, any other data points that you want to choose, and build insightful visualization. Great. So I'll quickly show the logo file which I had with myself. So I just did it as .csv. So it looks something for me. So I've converted into a CSV. You can see it's comma separated, well defined. I have a couple of data points. There can be many data points, but I chose this data point. Great. Now you have a data. You converted to a CSV. You chose the data points here. And now we are ready to build some visualization. So first, I just built this particular visualization, plain and simple, where I am comparing the frequency of the calls. So how many times the debug was called, how many times the warning was called, and how many times the info was called. So the frequency versus the logging level is the first visualization. And you must be wondering, how can we achieve this? So it's like few lines of code and you can achieve this. See, so here I'm calling the library which I love the most is PlotLab, and then pandas. Then I'm creating a data frame out of it. This is my file. And then I'm counting the occurrences, counting the frequency of occurrence of each level present, and then simply plotting a graph. We'll see this in action. I'll just quickly close this. I wanted to show you next, but no problem. Oops. Yeah. So this is one that I was working with. Sorry, with lots of comments here. I just wanted to make sure that everything goes smooth. So this is my file. Hopefully know where it is. Done. So here you can see the file that I could generate. So debug, info, warning, and the levels beside. And this gives you a beautiful insights if you want to kind of zoom a particular level and see, and kind of unzoom it, and then if you want to save it in this form, you can save it as a PNG or anything. And there are a lot of options that you can explore with Matplotlib, and it's amazing. You should definitely try it out if you haven't. So you can click how much it should be right. Now, these are inbuilt controls that I can use, and definitely give it a try. I must say, you should give it a try. Moving on to next, I will show you another which I was currently working on. Great. So let's see what this gives us. Amazing. So now you see, we have the percentage of different levels that got logged into our files. So warning took the highest hit rate. So we had a lot of warnings for the file that I created. Then the information level, info level was 24%, debug was 16%, but there were critical warnings. There were warnings, there were no critical issues right now. So if there are critical issues, then there will be another pie chart that you can plot, which says there is a critical issue being logged. So let's go a little bit on the code, how it actually works, so that you can have insight of getting these parts ready. So it's very simple. I'm calling the two libraries, then I'm saying that these are the labels I would want to have. And then I construct a data frame. I get the count similar to what we did for byte bar graph. And I just I convert the in64, since it's a data frame, it will be in64 type. I convert to a list and I get the sizes. Explode is nothing. What you are seeing is here, just little this thing going outwards. It's what is called explode. If I make it as say 1.3 and show you. I just want to show that this is kind of inbuilt thing that you can do. So see, the space got a little bit bigger. But this is one of the things that comes into the picture. That's it. Then you have subplots that you want to have any auto pack sizes. There's shadow. These are like various methods that you can use for the pie chart. Even these many are optional, so you can opt it out. And then axis equal, that means it should be a circle. It can be an oval or it can be an ellipse, but I chose to be a circle as a pie chart. And that's it. Then you just output it. That's all. This is a small code that you can use to actually build insightful information from the log file, from the log file CSV that I could build and then show it to you. Great. So now again we have diving into a code. We have dived, and this is not all. There are ample of there are a lot many things that you can do with Logger, and a way better visualization that I could just show you. You can build a lot better visualization using external packages and libraries, or something that you have created on your own. So don't stop exploring. Keep exploring. It's a very amazing tool to actually debug your Django packages. And then we have to the end of this session. If you have any questions, I am very active on Twitter, so you can reach me out. My DMs are open if you have any questions, or if you need some help and you got stuck with some of the techniques that I mentioned. If you have any queries, you can definitely reach me out. So that's it from today, and hope you like the session. I will be awaiting all your questions and feedbacks. Thank you so much.